and welcome to Rising. I'm Amber Athey, and I'm back with Jessica Burbank for another Friday edition of the show. Good morning, Jessica.
Good morning. Another big news day.
Absolutely. What's up first?
Well, a lawyer for Elon Musk sent a letter to Meta founder Mark Zuckerberg threatening to sue the company over what Musk claims is a plot to create a, quote, copycat of Twitter, according to reporting in Semaphore. The letter accuses Meta of poaching Twitter employees to build and work on its new rival app, Threads.
Elon Musk responded to the news on Twitter, writing, quote, "Competition is fine, cheating is not." Jessica, have you had the chance to go on Threads yet? I have not downloaded the app or anything, so I'm not sure what it looks like, but people are calling it the Twitter killer, apparently.
I'm still partying over on Twitter. I got the blue sky, I got the spill, and then when Threads came out, I was just exhausted. And the reviews initially I heard of it were not very good. And I get that it's a big deal. They're saying they have 30 million users already. Blue Sky only has 50,000. I think a company like Meta has the servers necessary to host a huge web app like this one. But to me, it's like we're picking which billionaire's app we're going to use. The rate limit exceeded situation, I think, is why a bunch of people hopped over, because if Twitter's dysfunctional, they want an app that has the same functionality and functions when they want to use it. So I think that makes a lot of sense. We might see it kill Twitter, but I think Elon's being dramatic to tank an app like Twitter and then be mad we want a different one.
I kind of wonder if this lawsuit is not another attempt for him to kind of weasel his way out of actually having to run Twitter, because he doesn't seem to really like it that much. At least since he's bought it, he seems to be making a series of decisions that just almost seem like he wants to wipe his hands clean of the whole matter. But there were two things about Threads that kind of turned me off of it. The first is that there are no DMs. I'm all about the DMs. Twitter DMs are where the fun happens, all the group chats. And then also one of the benefits that's also a drawback is that apparently to have a Threads account, you have to have an Instagram account. And so that's how you actually create your profile, because of course, Mark Zuckerberg is trying to create this lateral monopoly system. But people are finding out that once they signed up for Threads and they tried to delete their account, they were also prompted to delete their Instagram account. So apparently they're now intertwined, and you can't have one without the other. And that whole business gives me a little bit of an icky feeling.
Yeah, I think we get into just a weird territory. It reminds me of all of the copyright lawsuits we've had over music. At a certain point, certain chord progressions that have been done before will happen again. There's a limited number of chords, the way we do music in the West, and it's just going to happen. When it comes to social media, some kind of platform where people can post text is very basic. So when you have this letter come through where they say there's been this, unlawful and willing exchange of intellectual property and trade secrets, it sounds dramatic. From just a basic common sense perspective, when I think about it, it's like, if you're not going to offer an app with that functionality, what's the big deal if someone else does? That does sound like basic market competition. If your app doesn't work at all, can someone else make one that does? And so I think with Meta and with the linking of Instagram and Threads, that sounds to me like it's more of an antitrust concern when we talk about the law than anything else. I don't like that we have a handful of billionaires running our social media platforms. I think that's really what's at the heart of this. Will we see any kind of antitrust lawsuit come out of that linking of your Instagram and your Threads account? I'm not sure, because we haven't really seen this DOJ be pretty hard on antitrust law. How we saw them handle the Ticketmaster situation was basically like, okay, you guys pretty much have a monopoly. You've consolidated in this space. But maybe our solution is you just tell people about the hidden fees instead of adding them at the end. Problem solved. No, Ticketmaster's still a monopoly. So the DOJ is pretty weak on this issue. I don't know if we'll see anything come out of it.
Yeah, I think that's right. It's been really disappointing, the, pushback on antitrust regulation, particularly of big tech. And one of the biggest problems with these tech platforms as it relates to the lack of competition is that they have all of these different terms of service and they end up regulating speech. Mark Zuckerberg, I guess to his credit, kind of pulled back on Facebook and Instagram being really strict on this idea of shutting down disinformation. They've been one of the less regulatory bodies in terms of big tech companies, but they haven't been perfect, and there's certainly been some viewpoint discrimination that's been happening there. And I find that all really concerning. And the whole DM question, the reason they're not having the DMs apparently on Threads is because Facebook already has, or Meta rather, already has the Facebook Messenger app, as well as WhatsApp, as well as Instagram DMs. So at the same time, when you say, okay, but I want DMs on the Threads, it's like, all right, Facebook basically already controls all of private communication in the first place.
Yeah, I don't want all of my private communication to be owned by one corporation. That's terribly scary to me. When people are like upset about the notion of state-run media or this idea of like a planned economy or centralized economy, having one or a few corporations run all of our social media and host our communications online, equally as scary. To have it just in the hands of a few people is what we're afraid of when we say stuff like that. That's precisely what this is. So that's terrifying. I think from an economic perspective, it's also interesting having Elon Musk get in the tech game in Silicon Valley, because at one point there was a rival between the two cities of, the San Francisco Bay Area and Boston as to who would become the tech hub. Given that Boston had MIT, there was a suspected advantage in Harvard and these schools that are in that area. But what happened was the free sharing of intellectual property in the Bay Area across different startups and organizations made it a more favorable climate, actually, for tech companies to do their work there. That wasn't the work culture over in Boston. So Elon Musk coming in and having this approach, I think, shows that also the culture of tech is changing in Silicon Valley, and that might have some economic implications. Is it good that they share information and improve upon all of the tech that they're creating? Are we worse off in it as an economy, as users of these apps, when they stop sharing that information? Is it going to hurt our progress when it comes to tech? Maybe.
Yeah, it's a very interesting dichotomy, because as he's filing this lawsuit and trying to push back against what he refers to as theft as opposed to competition, he's also made quite a bit of Twitter's source code open to the public for them to help find bugs or other issues that might be hurting the site's efficiency or productivity. So I don't really understand, I guess, what his actual aim is here in terms of his goal towards data sharing, because it seems a little bit conflicted.
Yeah, it feels like he's punishing former employees for going over to Zuckerberg's camp. When I think about being fired from a job, from like a personnel or management perspective, those people are probably pretty upset. Being fired from Twitter seems as though the layoffs happened pretty suddenly. And to go over to work for another company that's willing to employ you to do what you know how to do when you need a job, when you probably weren't expecting to be unemployed or even have a new leader of this company, that's pretty shocking. And so I think Elon, by expecting those folks to not go work for Zuckerberg, and they say that they, quote, know that they're giving trade secrets to Zuckerberg so that they can develop Threads, how sure can they be? What evidence do they have? Will that evidence hold up in a court of law? It seems to me kind of petty, to be honest.
It also seems like Elon Musk is trying too hard with Twitter. I think when he came in, we really just wanted him to get rid of the viewpoint discrimination, to make the terms of service applied equally to all users of the app. And instead, he's made all of these other sort of not so subtle changes, like adding the For You page when you immediately log in. There's been an increase in the use of the community notes function. He's been testing out some other features like longer tweets or tweet subscriptions and the Twitter Blue platform. And I just don't think people were asking for all of that. And so I think that this Threads popularity is kind of the natural outgrowth of his own inability to just leave the app alone and just fix the one or two things people were having an issue with.
I had a suspicion when Elon first bought Twitter that his entire goal was to just tank the app, that Twitter and the free speech platform is something that's inconvenient. If you're a billionaire and you want to maintain the status quo, I'm skeptical that Elon ever really cared about free speech. And from what we're seeing, we are seeing the tanking of Twitter. And when we have this dysfunctionality of the app where users can't post and can't read tweets, that's glaringly obvious to me. When you fire all of the staff that keep the app functioning for people, that suggests to me that you don't care a lot about the app being used. And to say that the firing was necessary for the efficiency of the company, it's pretty clear at this point that that wasn't the case. And then to try and block someone else from having another social media platform that serves the same functionality, I just don't think he had pure intentions in buying Twitter. I think he really wanted to remove this very useful platform we had because he saw it as something that a lot of progressives use, that a lot of leftists use, and he dissented from those political views and didn't want people to use Twitter to be organizing, which they were.
I think my pie in the sky scenario out of all of this is that we have people so scattered across various social media apps that they all become basically useless. So you have some people on Twitter, you've got the Parler and Truth Social and Getter people, then you've got the Blue Sky and Threads people, and we're all in our separate camps, and everybody realizes it sucks because part of the whole appeal of being on Twitter was being able to argue with people that you couldn't stand, and we're not going to have that anymore, it doesn't seem like. So hopefully this just leads to the total demise of all of these apps in the first place, because I think honestly we'd all be better off if we spent less time on social media.
Yeah, instead of relying on the social media to be the public square, we should just hang out at the public square. We could just
right,
talk
let's
to
bring
each other
malls
and
back while
and
we're at it.
Yeah, the rise of the city-state again.
More rising right after this.